Hello, and welcome to WLTM Friendship is Magic, the world's #1 internet radio music thing. Definitely #1. No one is better than us. Today on we got Cruz.
Yeah, Papega.
We got Cameron.
That was it. Keep going. That was my intro.
And we got Alex.
Finna score it on him. Thank God it's Friday.
There we go.
I was kind of.
How's your week been, audience? I'm gonna take the I'm gonna take the fucking reins on this one. Jack forgot how to speak English.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get right into it. We're gonna start with an album called All My Friends by Filipino math rock, alt rock, indie rock, Filipino rock band Tide/Edit. And it's interesting because if you type the name out, you'll see that on either side of the slash there's two words, one's Tide and one's Edit. And so I found this album in my discovery.
Wait, no, it isn't. Never
It's
mind.
not, but they're anagrams. Anagrams.
It is a palindrome.
No,
It's not
palindrome is the same thing forwards and backwards.
It's an
It is.
anagram.
There's not a word for this other than anagram, but this
It
is
is the same.
more
It is
than
the same
anagram.
thing forward and
actually,
backwards.
it is-
It is the same thing forward and backwards.
Oh well, yeah. The whole name of the band is the same thing forwards and backwards.
Yeah, not
but,
All My Friends.
But Tide is not an anagram of edit, is what I'm saying.
I mean,
Or Tide is not a
like-
palindrome of edit, which
Yes,
is what
it
I
is.
meant when I
Yes, it
said
is.
it.
Yeah, that's what it is. A pound. Who
Tide
cares?
and edit.
No, I see. Okay, I see what Cameron's saying. Anyway, well, that's irrelevant.
yeah.
I discovered this band via Fans Also Like function on Spotify after listening to another Filipino rock band called Tom's Story, and this is when I was in my big discovery phase of finding new math rock to listen to add to the playlist. And so this is not the first album I heard by them, but this is their album they dropped in the year of our Lord 2018, which was last year. And this was my album of the year. This is the best album that I heard that came out in 2018, or at least my favorite album that I heard that came out in 2018. And I really, really like it. I enjoy the way the instruments sound. I think there's a lot of very complementary guitaring and drumming together. And I think that though some of the, you're always going to have it's instrumental, some of the songs sound the same because, it's the same instruments and stuff. I think they kind of mix it up enough and they have a vibe with it. And I asked a girl out, like, right after I heard this album the first time, and she said no, and I listened to this album for like 3 days straight. And so I have a really strong association with rejection and depression with this album. So that's another reason that I really liked it. And my favorite song on the album, strangely, is the very last song, the only song with vocals on it. Because I think D. Cruz,
Shout out.
not to be confused with D. Nuts, I think she adds a really interesting element to the track with the singing over the top of the more like somber instrumental tone than the rest of the album had. And I'm a really big fan of this. And seeing as my friends, all my friends are represented here, I thought it'd be an appropriate pick, and I would love to hear what all my friends thought.
What friends, idiot? Damn.
Okay, well, Jack. Okay, well, so the next album we have this week.
I like where this is going.
I'm kidding.
The speed episode.
Yeah.
I thought All My Friends was okay. It was good. Something that I couldn't get out of my head during that's my time listening to this album is a feeling of sameness. It's not even like squirt on him.
Is that video friendly? Am I?
Yeah.
I think that's friendly. But so like, it's so like I feel like I've heard a lot of. I know for a fact that I haven't heard any of these riffs before, but I feel like I've heard things that are in the exact same tuning, using the exact same like bass chords, using the like very similar like melodies as them, and I feel like there's got to be something in the way a lot of math rock bands like utilize like probably like open tunings to like do their wanky shit that like makes it so that they end in. I hate you so much. That they end up like sounding similar. In particular, the song Mr. Crane.
Right.
The main riff of that song reminded me like uncannily of like a riff from the first Trico album, and
Okay.
it just kind of and I could not like get that out of my head while I was listening. Even though the I do like Mr. Crane, and I do like the most of this album. I mean all of it actually. It's all quite good, but I don't necessarily feel like it's got something too unique about it in that sense. And also, I personally prefer lyrical stuff in this field of music. So I actually did like the last song a lot for that, but I did find it weird that they chose to have a single song with lyrics.
Well, I think at least the fact that it's the last song definitely makes more sense than if it was just like
Oh yeah,
in
then if it was just
there.
This got the AirPods in.
I was just a talk and I'm
No.
Holy shit.
The
Oh,
car's coming. They got the AirPods. It's so
Okay.
fucking funny, dude. I can't get over it. There's so many people with fucking AirPods now. It's so dumb. When you spend $200 and things that look so fucking stupid.
For the audience at home, we're trying a new little sort of format here. So let us know in the comments if you approve of the Easter eggs hidden in there for the audience to find throughout the video. Because we figure the visual content in the video, it's not that interesting, sometimes, especially when we see on the lobby screen and stuff. I figure we maybe spice it up, give them some Easter eggs, give them some cool little memes we can put on a t-shirt, put it in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. But I feel what you're saying. I don't really like vocal math rock as much. Like, especially when it's like, if it was like Mr. Crane with vocals on it, I would definitely not like it. I feel like when you have a vocal math rock, you need to have like a more chill, at least for me personally, you need a more chill kind of instrumental behind it to make it work, or else it just kind of doesn't really fit because it seems way too crazy unless you're like matching the riffs with the vocal melody, and if you're doing that, then that's going to sound really weird. But
yeah, I can see that.
like if like bands like You Slut or something, like the really wiggly bands had vocals on them, and it was like, wow, how do you match that up? It'd be weird, but it'd be interesting. I don't know. I'm just always attached to the instrumental thing.
I don't disagree with that at all, but I do think that like when you have like sometimes having it too wiggly is like I feel like a lot of times it just sounds better anyway when it's like when the wiggliness is toned down enough that like vocals could fit on it anyway.
Well, to be fair, I'm not a huge fan of the wiggly style in the first place.
Right.
Just personally.
But so like
But I definitely agree with what you're saying there.
yeah,
Like
but
if it matched up at least at least they felt like they knew what they were doing.
yeah, not to latch on to the Trico comparison that I brought up too much, but like while I was here listening to Mr. Cream, I thought like, I liked the riff in the Trico song more because it
What
was
Trico song is it off the first album? Do you actually know which one it is?
I didn't. I was actually trying to figure it out real quickly, but I didn't find it. It's. But the riff in the song, if I find out which one it is, I'll tell you. But the riff it's really similar in how like the chord progression goes, but the it's what they're actually playing is simpler,
Gotcha.
and it just makes, and I think it just sounds better anyway, because like it becomes easier to follow along with like the math rhythms, when it's
Yeah.
not as wiggly as it possibly can be. And I'm not saying that this album necessarily is. It's not nearly as bad as some stuff where it's like you just can't tell what's going on.
Mhm.
But yeah, I generally prefer a simpler approach.
I can respect that. I do like Trico's first album. I think that's a better album than this is personally.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. But
But
I did enjoy this quite a bit.
well, it's good. I'm glad. There's a lot of. I think it's interesting that there's actually a. I don't know if I would say a big scene, but there's at least a few
Puerto Rican.
Filipino.
Oh, Philippine. I don't know why I said
Holy
Why?
Jack! Oh my fucking god!
Jack, you can't say that,
Oh,
Jack.
we're gonna have to
edit it out, Jack.
Oh my fuck! What were you? Did you turn your brain on? What the fuck were you thinking? Oh my
He's got
god!
the AirPods in.
Oh,
Jack.
oh, you have your fucking AirPods in. Oh my god! There's a relatively, I don't know if I'd say a big scene, but there's at least a few. I would say probably 4 or 5 like bands, at least, or math rock bands, at least on my radar, that end up all being from the Philippines. Which I think is like cool. I think it's interesting that I think about, like, and then you have bands like Toe and stuff that are in the Japanese scene. I think it's interesting that a genre that I still think is pretty niche, or at least not, not in like the uber mainstream thing, has kind of a global, or maybe people are just catching on to it now around the globe, like it's one of those things. But I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that they kind of almost have their own sound. Like when I listen to like bands like this, or A Picture of Her, or like Tom's Story or something, I know, like, oh man, like these boys are Filipino, like even if I've never listened to them before, which I think is something interesting. I think something cool.
I mean, this is my first experience with Filipino math rock, but like, I don't necessarily, I do think that like the Filipino scene is a lot more of a surprising one to me than the Japanese one, because if you like listen to a lot of Japanese rock music that isn't necessarily math rock, they have tendencies to flex a lot into like,
That's fair.
and I remember there was some guy on Mew who was joking that like, all the Japanese musicians don't think they're allowed to make music until they can just like are absolute like virtuosos on their instrument. So it's just like, I think there's some like natural inclination towards more technical stuff there.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting. Quezon City, Philippines. I don't know if that's a capital or just a big city or what, but that's where a lot of this shit gets played, and they're about like stats on Spotify. So shout out Quezon City.
Okay, shouts out all the fans.
Yeah, shout out all the Filipinos. Not only you Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, oh no, Alex, you can't say that.
I can say I can say it 'cause I'm quoting you, you bigot.
Oh, you got me. I'm dead. Literally dead.
What did you think, Cruz?
Okay.
All My Friends, Tied at It, 2018.
Oh, is that the one we're talking about?
Mhm.
Alright.
Well, welcome to the podcast.
I'm just kidding.
Welcome to the podcast. This is Cruz, special guest.
Yeah, been here once or twice. Let's see. Well, I thought it was good, clean. Don't really remember I do remember the singing, but like didn't really pop out to me.
Fair enough.
I thought this album does this really weird thing where it puts me into thinking mode.
That's not very good.
After as soon as it comes on, and I'm just like, man, can I listen to the music, please? Can the brain turn off? But I thought it was pretty good. Moving in the game. Yeah, I don't really have much to say, really. Like, it's not. It doesn't pop out to me at all. I think it's good background music. I would
It
definitely
goes on
use
the
it to
it goes on the
read.
reading
It
playlist.
goes on the
It
reading
goes on the
playlist.
reading playlist.
It's
Amen.
definitely on the reading playlist. I would put it on there right now, because that's exactly what I should be doing. And then, because I don't know, it's just maybe I could concentrate better. Because all it does is makes me concentrate on something else. Like everything in my ears is just, that's set. I can't be distracted.
There's nothing oppressive enough that takes you out of what you're doing
It's
and
not
makes you be
oppressive,
like
or
makes,
it's
makes you
not
be like, what the fuck's going on in the song?
Yeah, it's not entirely like overwhelming either. It's just subtle. And
Yeah, this goes in the sex playlist.
definitely in the sex playlist. Yeah, and no one's gonna be offended by people playing guitar and drum really well.
Yeah,
So
finna squirt on them.
Why?
You cook up breakfast, put a bun in the oven, you feel me?
And I wish people with AirPods would listen to music like this. They should be legally obligated to listen to.
I wish people with AirPods should listen to the train coming.
No.
Because oh god, oh fuck. Oh god.
But
Okay.
it's just not. It's unapologetically good. It's just there. It's music. We listen to it. Please.
Amen.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Seinfeld, man. Cameron, that's the best I think. Filipino, what did you think?
Yeah, Cameron.
Shout out Dennis, shout out Matthew, shout out Kevin, shout out Andrew.
Shout out Dennis, actually. Double shout out to Dennis.
Yeah, fuck with the long way. So I want to, since it's cold and I'm tired, I want to give this a 1 just to troll, but I'm not gonna do that. I don't know. It's just your standard like math rock. That sounds good. So yeah, I don't really have anything to say other than
God damn, his album kills.
it's not special.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, there's certain shit. One of the main reasons that I don't pick a lot of this, like, kind of stuff to put in the shows, because there's a certain point where it's just like it's good. There's not much more you can say past a certain point besides like I like the way it sounds and it's good to listen to, because really that's all it's out there to do. And there should be more music that's out there that's good to listen to and makes you feel good and shit, finish scoring on
And it
or
makes
some
you feel
shit.
bad.
Something like that.
Maybe that's what's it?
But
Surroundings
Tide
over.
Edit. I follow them on Instagram. I don't think they'll tour. I mean, I don't know if they'll come to America and tour, but if you ever come down around the southeast, fucking hit me up. You guys can stay in my place,
The southeast.
and we can score it on them. You know what I'm saying? I can introduce you to some American food or something. You can show me the Filipino ways and stuff.
Protein.
But shout out Tide Edit. Shout out the Philippines.
Okay, I figured it out. Okay, so it wasn't Mr. Crane. It was actually Fragments. That was the one that sounds like the Trico song. And the song is Swimmer off of their first album, the 12th song.
Yeah, not one of the better ones on that album.
I like that song a lot, but it has
What's the best song on Trico's debut on the first album in your opinion? What's your top 2 at least? There's 2 correct answers, and if either of them are wrong, I'm never picking a math rock album again.
The thing is like
I wouldn't mind that.
I haven't listened to the album enough to like be able to match like the Japanese titled songs to their like music.
Well, that's your first mistake. One of them's not a Japanese titled song. Anyway, well, it doesn't matter. So, does anybody else have anything else they would like to add?
Oh,
Okay.
I was thinking.
That doesn't bode well.
Yeah.
This is the thinking album, the thinking
Okay.
album.
So here's the deal. I get that if you like this kind of music, and that's what you want to make, you make it. That's cool. But from a business perspective,
Mm-hmm.
all right, if you're feeling from the you're trying to make some money. It doesn't make sense. Why would you make?
They're trying to make some
Why
money.
would you make chill music that's technical when you could make
Because
lo-fi hip hop
Beats to
beats
study and
Oh.
relax to.
No, because if you make lo-fi hip hop beats, you don't get to get on the audio tree live.
True.
Oh, yeah.
You
unlike
And
everyone.
I mean, I don't know if you guys know, but I think every band has a live on Audio Tree album out. Well, I think part of it too is from a business perspective. Why make music at all? From a business perspective, why wouldn't you just own a business?
Yeah, I know, and
Yeah,
I,
so,
I
so I
get
think what I
that.
think
I'm
I
just
think
saying
if
that
people
if you
who are
were
doing
trying
it,
to make a career in music and you want to make some chill music, then why don't you make simple chill music? That's what sells.
well, because I think this would sell too. I think if more people, I feel like if there was a SoundCloud scene where YouTube 24/7 Filipino chill math rock to relax/study to, like maybe it'd be more. Maybe we need to rebrand the channel, but maybe it'd be more popular that time.
We might actually make some money.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like math rock on the whole is like niche enough that it's not. A lot of people don't know about it, and
Who
since a
the
lot of people
fuck
don't know
listens to
about it,
lo-fi hip hop?
even fewer
A
people.
lot of people.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
there's like
even
thousands of
fewer.
people that
Because
stream
of the
everything.
playlist.
Yeah,
Because
there's
of those
people
damn.
There's multiple streams,
There's
so
people who DJ that shit live. Well, that's what they make
they're
them do.
making money. They're
Mhm.
it's like 12,000, 15,000 concurrent viewers.
Yeah,
They're not.
the guy
They're
who
making money, and if you
chilled
fucking sell
cow
out,
probably
Chilled
is
Cow's
fucking
killing it.
millionaire.
He's
They're
got
fucking-
merch. Got
Suicide,
merch.
Mr. Suicide Shoot, all of them. But
Yeah.
it's just the way it goes. I think, but since not a lot of people know about it, even fewer people would know about the fact that there's like distinct scenes within it, and of those distinct scenes, there's like half of them are kind of chill, and the other half like either make you think or make you angry.
I like being angry.
right.
Mosh.
You wouldn't like him when he's angry.
No, sir.
But
For you.
Well, unless anybody else has anything else they want to add, yeah.
Jack.
For you.
Unless there's anybody has anything else specific they want to add, that's the end of the show for today. Well, thank you
You're-
for tuning in. The T and WLTM.
I think I want to add about 3 more albums to this episode.
3 more albums? Okay. Well,
Three-
then next, why don't we talk about
You're a big guy.
The Ugly Organ
For
by
you.
Cursive.
Alright. So.
Did you actually want to go next?
Yeah.
Bet.
Oh.
I'm taking the
If we can
reins,
keep
dude.
this under 30 minutes, that'd be awesome.
There's no breaks on. There's no breaks on
No
this
way.
one.
No, yeah, we're gonna kill the 30-minute mark. But okay, so The Ugly Organ, I think it's called. Hold on, I don't know the name of the album.
You're an ugly organ.
Yeah, it's The Ugly Organ. By
The Ugly Organ here's
Cursive.
cheap.
Wait. I have one more thing to say about tight edit. Alright.
Alright, what's up?
Alright, so Alex.
Hmm.
In the interest of making sure your average doesn't become inflated.
That's fine. Give it a 0 if you have to.
No. If you ever pick a math rock album again, I'm gonna give it a 1.
Okay. Well. Yikes. Week 13's gonna be a 1.
Well, it's gonna be a 1?
Week 13.
I don't know what that is, but
That's next week.
oh shit.
It's week 13.
Hell yeah. Alright, Chris, continue.
Okay, so The Ugly Organ by Cursive is a emo post. It's just emo. We'll call it emo.
It's
emo rock.
post as fuck, dude.
Yeah,
Is it post emo?
Post like Austin.
It's supposed to be. I read on Wikipedia the greatest place for music information. It's emo and post hardcore, which
Mhm.
I don't listen enough post hardcore to know what elements they're taking, but who
It's the
fucking
part where the
cares?
music's not. When the
Yeah,
music's
it's the
like,
part with the
scary.
violin.
It's the part where your music scares people.
My music scares people. But
Rap music
69
scares
stars.
people.
You have to be fucking shitting me, dude.
That's the sex number.
That is the 6 number.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I first found this album on a thread on Mew, and it was like it was shitting on new wave emo like Remo and others, and they're like, that's not real emo. And then they posted this a quote unquote definitive list, and I took all of those and put them into a playlist and called it Remo emo. And this is the only one that stood out at being any kind of quality. Besides the brand new album, which has a couple good songs, but the rest of them suck ass, and those guys are blind and don't have ears. Yeah, man. And when I worked, wash dishes. Like, the only thing that I could pay attention to is the music, and your music sucks. That's the perfect time for me to like your music, and they all failed.
That's not good.
Except for this one. This one was good because it was interesting. Because there was something actually tangible to listen to. And,
Tangerine.
I thought it was good, and then after listening to it for the first time in 6 months, I thought it was pretty good. And I would love to hear what you think.
Don't get too crazy with your review, dog.
Yeah.
God damn.
I'll tell you one thing. It's interesting because usually when I hear an album and I pick up on one thing that I like, and then it like spins it into my mind that it's like a gimmick kind of, I'm like, oh man, like 3 out of 10, dude, this shit sucks. But the gimmick of this album sounds good. Like, what band has a cello player in it? The cello is easily the best thing about this album, and it sounds so good. It's just like they had a bunch of dudes who were mad and lived in like Wisconsin, and then they got like
They're
Bach.
from Nebraska.
I mean, you try to tell me it's somewhere that's not a city in Nebraska, Wisconsin. Anyway, I didn't think that the vocals or the lyrics were that interesting, but the cello put this album into the fucking, put this album into a skirt for me. You know what I'm saying? This album got a 7 on the sole basis of the fact that there's a cello in there, and there's a cello on nearly every song, and the instrumentation overall was really good because it's like they had an idea that they were like, okay, we have the cello and we have other instruments that normally you don't see with the cello, so we have to like do a thing to combine them together to weave it in a way that sounds good. So the Recluse, Bloody Murderer, Staying Alive, which is not a cover of the Bee Gees hit song of the same name, but I like the build-up of that song.
Staying alive.
Staying alive.
Solid album. I don't like the song. I don't like Harold Weathervane because there's like a horror movie riff in it that I think was kind of stupid, and I don't like the song Driftwood: A Fairy Tale because they had ASMR whispers at the end that added nothing to the track.
That was my favorite track.
But, well, sorry to hear that.
What track?
Driftwood: A Fairy Tale.
Yikes. Actually, did I like that one? I don't remember.
And the rest of the album was pretty good. Cursive, more like Cursive.
Oh, this album was critically acclaimed. It sold 170,000 copies, and that's insane.
God damn, it's 2003.
The worst time to be an emo rocker.
You know what the best time to be an emo rocker was? The present. What you have now is a gift, that's why it's called the present. What do you think, Jeff?
I hate you so much. Why'd you have to say that?
Well, I said it was good. What the fuck?
I like this. I like this album. It's pretty good. I enjoyed it. The first time I was listening to it, I didn't really like pick up. I was clocked out. But like at the second time,
everybody this week is clocked out.
I have
Except
yet
for
to
Alex.
be clocked. Yeah, what the fuck? I put my heart and soul into this.
but
I
so
did like 2 hours of uppers to get ready for this.
I need some fucking uppers.
yeah, I do. So I really do appreciate like the and I wouldn't call it a gimmick, but like the recurring theme of like additional instrumentation that you wouldn't normally find in rock music, specifically cello and organ and other things that you would associate
The
with
organ slaps.
stuff like classical music or music hall or something like that. And yeah, I found that stuff cool, and that stuff. I hate you so much, Alex. But that stuff I felt it really added to like the like less intense tracks and made them like more interesting than like I would have thought they were otherwise. And I needed like the more aggressive tracks were just like fucking hey, you're in it, I'm emo and I'm screaming, that's how I feel. I hate the world and I want to die. So that's that. That was good shit, and I enjoyed it. I liked the vocals. I'm just gonna. I'm clocking out. I'm done. Fuck you, Alex. Suck my.
Keep talking,
Suck my
Jack.
big
Jack.
chungus.
Yeah, keep talking. We need to keep it going. We're not supposed. We weren't even supposed to reference anything that comes up on the screen because it's supposed to be an Easter egg for the viewers.
It's an Easter egg because the viewers are the only one to understand why they're laughing.
When we get published on My Anime List, this is gonna be the filler episode that people are told to skip.
We are an anime. We're
Yay.
talking over anime, and that's what they do in dubs.
I respect what you're saying, Jack. Please continue. For the sake of congruity.
Yes, please. Let's have this longer than 30
Keep
minutes.
talking.
I thought like the album, like when the album's coming to a close, I was like, damn, that was a short album. And then I realized the last track is 10 minutes long, and I don't think the last 5 minutes of the last track needed to be there. I felt like it was, you know, wasted space.
Yeah, there's a lot of dead space in this album. I think they just have silence or fading out, and they're just like, yeah, nice.
Yeah, I didn't much care for the closing track because of that. But like I feel like the actual like part of it is the actual like part of it that's the song is pretty okay, pretty good. Yeah, cool.
I didn't think there was. I mean, the album's like. I feel like there's definitely parts of it that, like, there was definitely parts of some songs that were like really strained out, like on the shorter tracks. But I feel like even on the last track, like I felt like there was enough of a build up, like element to it that it felt like the track wasn't just stagnating. It wasn't like that Kaius album where the last 45 seconds of that song was just them playing the same notes and then just waiting more time in between them. Like you know what I mean? Like there was at least not to shit on Kaius, but there was like they were doing something a little bit different for 10 minutes.
No, I mean like the build up part is cool, but like the build up is basically done by the 6-minute mark, and then it's like the rest is like a kind of like just fading out, and this like the notes being held and shit. And it's like,
Oh yeah, that's yeah, secret track. Half shark, alligator, half man.
Shark, alligator, half man.
But
When's that coming?
I see what you're
I can
saying.
hit the highs.
I quite like the outro bit, but I can 100% understand your overall apathy towards the musical decision. Speaking of apathy, Cameron, what did you think?
Yo. Yeah, alright, so. Yeah. I'm gonna hit y'all with. Hold on, I need to eat my gummies. My multivitamins. I'm usually going to sleep by this time, so I gotta like keep schedule. But anyways, I'm gonna give y'all the definitive review for this album.
Alright, hit me with
Alright.
the camera and give it to me.
So like, hold up. Okay. So there's so it starts, and shit, I don't know where I'm going with this. Oh yeah. Okay, wait.
At the beginning. So it starts. I don't know where I'm going.
wait, just give me a second.
I'm giving you a second. I'm sandbagging.
Okay. I can't talk. Okay. So when the album starts, it's really good. The first, everything I want to say just sounds like a fucking joke when I say it over my head before it flies out my mouth. I don't know why. So, up through The Recluse, the album's really good.
That's track 4 for the listeners at home.
Up through track 4, The
There's 12
Recluse, the
songs
album's
on the
really
album.
good. Well, there's 12 tracks on the album. There are 10 songs.
That's fair.
So yeah, like that. If the whole album were just the first 3 songs, this shit's like a 5. because
That's an EP.
those 3 songs are really good. And then it just takes a fucking nosedive. So, Harold Frankenstein drops. Well, that's another non-song. Butcher the Song essentially just drives it.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They butchered the album.
Yeah, it butchered the album. It drove it right down to a 3. Alright, and it stayed at a 3. I kind of enjoyed the ASMR because it was a breakup from, like, the rest of the album not being great. But it wasn't good enough to save it.
It's a fucking harsh assessment.
Because upon A Gentleman Caller, it suffered another drop down to a 1.
That's pretty low.
And it stayed there until Staying Alive, where it jumped back up to a 2. So
It's really a roller coaster.
it's really a roller coaster. It's some shit I get motion sickness on, but a roller coaster nonetheless. One of the wooden ones, you know.
The bumpy ones.
But what the fuck are you gonna do? So I as for what I thought would made like the other songs worse, I thought it was just like they were like messier essentially. Like the instrumentation was just fucking like it didn't sound nice anymore. Like when you go back and listen to like the Recluse, that shit was like it was real good. And like it was like clean and it just like everything was nice. And then like some Redheaded Sleight of Hand was just like it was a banger, you know? And then Artist Hard was cool too. Kind of for the lyrics. And just the rest of the song was also adequate. But like the other songs are just like messy. Like you go to Gentleman Caller. Like I don't like being dude at. Like I prefer actual lyrics. Although that song's very interesting. Like I think if there were a whole album of A Gentleman Caller, it would I might appreciate it just because of what that song is, but when it just comes out of nowhere and is chilling, it's not it. But like I don't know, it's a very strange song because it has a bunch of different parts and like some of them are like just really like fucking bad and messy and then some of them are like mad peaceful and it just like goes between them all in just 3 minutes and 20 seconds and it feels a lot longer in my head. But I hated Sierra because it was just like new metal yelling. Sound like he was doing his best Chester impersonation. Rest in peace. Like, actually, no, not rest in peace. I don't give a fuck.
Oh damn! You're totally gonna be
Redacted.
trapped in this skeleton world.
Redacted. I only like saying rest in peace if like I actually like give a fuck because I feel like side tangent, but I feel like people always just say rest in peace like you didn't give a fuck about that nigga. Like he's just a dead nigga. Like he's just chilling with dead nigga stories. You don't really care, you know.
You
But
gotta say rep. Or you gotta say L. Put an F in the chat. Monk
yeah, I'll
F,
say
and
rip. Yeah, I'll say like
Monk S.
throw an F in the chat.
Let me get a
F.
sour. Let me get a sour, please, in the chat.
Yeah, let me get a Bible thump
Yeah,
in the
can I
chat.
get a Bible thump?
Type shit,
my
but-
right fellow gamers.
The rest in peace is too much.
Put a try out in
Everyone
the chat if
deserves
this
the
guy is
rest
gonna
in
be
peace.
if he's gonna be missed.
Yeah, tryhard 7 in the chat. Goddamn. Papega.
Pepega.
But yeah, and then I don't know. So overall, it got a 3, but I really want to give it a 2, like really badly. But it's like a low 3 because I was looking at the other 2s I've given Cruise because there's a lot, and this is slightly better than them, so it narrowly escapes death here. But so yeah, that's what I thought about this album more or less. I don't like the album cover.
I think it's pretty bad too. I think most of the album covers this week were kind of weak.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all saw, but this is the first week of no humanoids or no pictures of people in general in
At least one of
any
the
of
albums.
the album covers. Yeah, so
That's a good thing.
Well, that's a
Having
good corner. That's a,
people in your album covers for Virgin.
yeah. We'll have a whole. That'll be a whole chapter in the history book we have about this podcast. The first
Yeah.
week that we had no humanoids in the albums, and this was the same week that the podcast quality took a noticeable dip. The same week that we voted out Jack as chairman of the show.
Goddamn. Oh,
Speaking
a lot of
of
pattern recognition going on.
speaking of voting, what did you think of the album, Jay?
Who? Me?
You? Yeah, what did you think of the album?
I already said how I felt about the album.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I,
I guess
I
we're
mean,
done with that one. Okay.
to repeat though, I enjoyed it. I'll give it like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Probably a 7.
Got a 7 from me as well for the cello. I thought I read it and I saw that the cello girl was out of the band after the next album, so I wonder if the rest of them don't have cello, and then what's the point of listening to
It's
this
like a
band?
hiatus or something too. So
Yeah.
she was
I'm
probably
trying to be
making money, so-
I'm trying to be high on Atis.
I hate. Stop.
I just feel like
Just
I just feel like the whole thing with the cello, really, like without it, everything is way too generic and like non-impactful. I feel like there's definitely something really interesting about the way that sound mixes with other sounds.
Yeah, the cello saved it from being a 1.
I also just have a hard on for anything with the cello. Cello's like my favorite instrument to listen to. I'd fuck a cello if I could,
You
A long way.
but I digress. Speaking of fucking a cello, what was your album this week, Cameron? Unless anybody else has anything they would like to add about
in middle school,
the other
I was
organ.
gonna join the music class, and there were strings, and I wanted to play the guitar, and they're like, "You can't play the guitar. This is for classical music. You can play the cello, though." And I said, "Fuck that," and I did art instead.
And look where like
I was in I was in
Look
school
where
band.
I am now.
I was in school band from 6th to the very beginning of 9th grade. I played cello, so that's kind of why I have such a attachment. It was fun. And then I realized that I already had enough social issues. Like I already had enough issues.
Yeah, Icarus comes into my eyes.
I already had enough issues in certain situations. Like I already had enough trouble like getting girls to talk to me without also being in band. So I dropped out of that and I became a burnout, and here we are.
What do
10
you
years
say-
later.
what, you just want to be high school burnouts?
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember the whole thing.
Remember that time that my computer programming teacher, or my web design teacher, noticed a noticeable drop in my ability to give a shit about his class?
Oh,
and
you
he-
thought you get laid?
Yeah, he was like, he took me on the hallway and was like, "What, are you getting laid or something? You think you're too cool for shit?" And I'm like, "Let me tell you something, dude. Dudes like me don't get laid." Tell you one thing. I'm like, you should know
Did
better
you say
than.
that too?
No, I was like, you should know better than any of us. Like guys like us don't get laid. No, but no, I just kind of looked at him and I was like, "I'm sorry that you feel that way." And he was like, "I need you to help somebody with their website." And I was like, "Alright." And then he fucking wrote me up the next week because I said shit in class on accident.
What an asshole.
Then I went to the vice principal dude, and he was like, "Why don't you have classes for next semester?" It was like November, like the end of November, and he's like, "Why don't you have classes for next semester?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm graduating." He's like, "This is the first time that you've been written up for anything in 12 years, and you're graduating in like a month." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Get out of my fucking office. What are you doing here?"
Wasting
something
my
in it.
time.
Yeah, and that really reminded me, kind of what it felt like to listen. I don't know. This album took me back to high school for some reason. You know, and I mean that like in a good way, because high school was almost the prime of my life, really. This took me back to like, I put this shit on when I go from one class to the next one, and I can only listen to 5 minutes because we only have 5 minutes between classes, and if my earbuds are in, then they're gonna take my phone away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is like Jack tries to sit at our table, but there's like not enough room, so he would have to like share a seat with somebody, and nobody really wants to tell Jack that he's not welcome, so he just kind of shares a seat with like somebody, and everybody they give him that look. He's like, "I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get some sodas. You guys want anything?" And then we move tables before he gets back. Good fucking times.
For the record, that never happened. That's not how.
Yeah, I mean, why would we tell you if it was? But
The next album. Is...
7 out of 10. The next album we have is Japan by Suicideyear. I believe this is Cameron's album
So,
from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I didn't even know all that.
Not Cameron. Suicideyear.
Yeah, I'm also from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Yeah.
So the shit you heard.
My bitch is Baton Rouge. Hooking up the music. Yeah.
Turning on back to the bone. Yeah. Alright, so the shit you heard is the 2015 reissue of 2013 debut album.
It's a mixtape. That's what I found out. It's not actually an album.
2013 debut album of instrumental trap artist Suicideyear. So I'm going to use the last 2 brain cells I have to describe the differences between the reissue and the original. So, the reissue had a different intro, a different outro, and a different song after the outro. It did have a song after the outro. So the intro was the intro on the original was a loop of like a pitch turned down voice saying, "Dude, kill yourself. This is suicide year." Several times, and he decided to change it, I guess, because it's probably too edgy, and it was like needlessly edgy. It really didn't need to be there.
It was like a dodecahedron.
Huh?
It was like a dodecahedron.
Right.
Needlessly edgy.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Like
have you ever had that
dodecahedron.
moment when when a Tool song comes on and it makes you think so hard that in your head you imagine a perfect dodecahedron?
Another difference that I forgot to mention is that the album cover is different, but I also like this album cover more.
It's not bad. It's definitely like vaporwavy.
Yeah, it's very vaporwavy. It's just a vaporwave, but the other one was like I don't even remember what it was. It was like a dark black and white picture of like some Negro like making a strange hand movement.
Well, so how do you know it was black and white then?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
So I don't remember what the original outro was, but whatever. And this one's probably better. I don't know.
Was there also a song after the outro on the original?
Yeah, I said that, but you know.
Sorry.
Hey,
I don't pay attention.
maybe you have half the brain cells I do. Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know what I would do with -2 brain cells.
Yeah, I don't know. And then every time, right?
Yep.
Anyways, the song after the outro on the original version was like some shitty Travis Scott remix. It wasn't good.
Mm.
It had vocals in it, I believe. I don't really remember. I know it's been a minute. I don't have it on Food Bar, so I can't really tell you. But I like this one way better. This one, it's actually like my second favorite song on the album.
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot too. I like the vibes to it.
It's mad peaceful.
Yeah.
So I was gonna like come on here and tell y'all about how like the album makes me happy and shit. And like, I don't know, I might do that like later. But I like to hear y'all's thoughts, even though I actually wouldn't like to hear y'all's thoughts, but whatever.
Well, in that case, Jack, what was your album this week? No, we gotta have feedback. Japan, Suicideyear, 2015, reissue. Good album. Didn't think I was gonna like it a lot. Heard the first 6 songs. Couldn't differentiate between the first 6 songs. Song 7, Interest. Way more melodic. It's cool. I like the intro. It's kind of these weird, like, chimey, like, ethereal sort of fucking notes. It's cool. But you can tell every song, you know when he's gonna start putting in the drum rhythms. Put the drum machine going. You get the robot playing the drums. But I thought it was good. Hurry, another banger. Every time. Super cool song. There's this one cymbal in like the end of Hurry, like the last 30 seconds. They keep hitting this China cymbal, and it makes a really cool noise, and I really like that part of it. And I think this is the kind of shit that you just throw on at the party, and you get your friend who's really drunk to freestyle over it.
I can dig that.
Just like the album, you know what I mean? And it's good vibes anyway. Like it's good like driving music, stuff like that. You know, driving your parents up the Walmart. Right? No, but it's. And it's like, you know, there's one point where I was like, oh man, it sounds a lot of the same, but then I realized that it's like just a dude and like a synth and a drum machine, and really there's only so much you can really do when you're gonna restrict the parameters to still being trap music. Like, the fact that there's actually this much variety in the track listing is kind of a miracle given the genre that it's in. But I have a lot of respect for what Suicideyear is doing. Baton Rouge, Louisiana, coming up out of the dirty South, coming up out of the swamp, and
Yikes.
I think he did a really good job. Every time it's probably my favorite one on the album, but I really like Hurry because of that one symbol. It's really cool. I like it. It's like a chow, like chow. The China symbol says something in Chinese. What did you think, Jack? Or actually, well, Cruz, what did you think? We'll get Jack's opinion after, because I know Jack's the
This album slaps.
fanatic.
It's awesome. I really like it. The best song I've ever heard in this year is "Hurry." Definitely.
Damn.
It really fucking kills it.
Did you like the symbol?
It does everything that the other songs do, but better in
Do
every
you like the
single
symbol?
way. And the other songs are good too. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I have a
Go to
strong association. I can't.
To like 347 in the song, and then listen to the symbol. It's gonna go like chow chow.
haven't
It's
either.
really fucking.
But
Huh?
it's great. I like to listen to it on loop. I was tabling for the radio station, and I was talking to one of the senior staff members, and he had his laptop up, and he had a playlist. And first song in his playlist was some Suicideyear song. I was like, holy shit, it's coming full
Damn.
circle here. I'm like, wait, I live in an alternate dimension where I actually know other music besides fucking butt rock.
Cruise music.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, this fucking kills it. I think the album art's great, and I just like, I don't listen to trap music, and this doesn't have
You've
vocals,
activated my trap card.
so it's easier to focus on what's going on instead of hearing.
Ra-ta-ta.
But you don't have to listen to a designer album.
Okay. And
I'm just-
I have no idea what you're talking about, but we'll continue. And I think it's really good.
Can I say it again, but you laugh this time?
I think this is an integral to lo-fi hip-hop beats to study and chill to, and it's definitely probably my favorite trap album. And,
This is a derivative of it.
hell no. It's a step above. That other stuff is...
It's a step above the rest.
the triality of man. So I thought it was really good, and I think it might be my favorite album this week. You should definitely check it out. 100%.
It's my favorite album this
It
week.
doesn't feel like 42 minutes, tell you that. It feels like 20. It's awesome.
It goes by quick.
Fast.
So I have a strange hunch that Jack isn't gonna like the album, but
No, can I tell you what my guess is? I'm gonna type my guess in chat.
yeah, tell you
don't
guess
talk
in
yet.
chat.
Alright, and let me know when I should hit enter, Jack.
I mean, you can. I'm
No,
not gonna
I actually want
try-
Jack to go first before I continue.
Okay, so
I realized I don't want him like to close out this album and then start explaining his. I can't hear his voice for like that long at one time. Continue.
okay. So I don't dislike this album. I didn't find it all that interesting. Well, actually, it's okay. So, having listened to a good bit of the EDM genre known as trap, which is
a different genre.
which is actually not that different of a genre.
It's really a different
aside
genre.
from the instrumentation is largely the same.
In the words of Payne Blackstone, that's like saying Mein Kampf uses the same words as the Bible.
I respectfully disagree. And honestly, this does feel more in the realm of the EDM traps and the future basses and like the lo-fi hip hops and the vaporwaves to me than it does like the hip hop genre known as trap.
Before you continue, can we direct our attention to chat where Oh, Jack has said the secret word.
I'm dead. I'm
What's the
literally
secret
dead.
word? Lo-fi hip hop beats is
The
unusual
secret word was vaporwave. Continue.
Okay.
Yeah, like the aesthetic of this album is very vaporwave. And I don't mind vaporwave.
That's probably why I like it.
I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I'm not the biggest fan. Honestly, normally I really dislike the distinction between mixtape and album, but I feel like that might be an important distinction here because it kind of feels like a beat tape, you know, where it's like, okay, here's my beats, you can rap over them.
Oh, for like $20 you can buy my beats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily a bad thing because there are like beat tape albums that are really good, and there are like
Discovery.
like Discovery. But yeah, so I if the artist himself calls it a mixtape, in this specific case, I would actually probably bother calling it a mixtape rather than an album. But anyway, is so the production is pretty good most of the time. I thought it was, you know, it's a bit samey throughout, but that's fine because it's good. There are a couple particular things in the production I don't like. There's a tendency to like really go super aggressive with like delay and reverb on like especially like lead sounds, or like what would be like the melodic sound in the mix, and like that is very much like one of the things that makes it feel like kind of like the vaporwave or the vapor trap thing. Which that's a genre that exists that I haven't actually bothered to listen to, even though I've been recommended it. And but yeah, so that's I understand it from like an aesthetic perspective, but I don't particularly like the oversaturation of reverb and in particular delay on some of the sounds. And then what was the other thing?
Jack, were you the one who recommended me a hand on?
Hand job?
Not a hand job, the fucking guy. A hand on. Fuck, I spelled it wrong. Because it's
No,
like.
I've never heard of that guy, so I would not. Aesthetic.
God, you actually did it. It sounds like a real band. It's so close. It's so funny. How did he do it?
The entire time Jack was sitting here nitpicking this worthless ass album, Alexander was just sitting there thinking of a way to get him, just constructing the perfect word. Just I hit my head on
We'll have a video up on the side channel about how I made that one work.
We'll have a video essay on how to
Anyway, Suicideyear, I should commit suicide because it's bad.
Yeah, he should commit suicide this year.
I feel like these kinds of beats in particular, what I would find more interesting if they did have.
Yeah, honestly, after that, you can't continue talking. I'm sorry. Okay. All right, so the reason.
No, let him go. Let him. He's had enough. He's had enough already.
I think you guys understand my feelings. It's fine.
This is the
No, I see what you're
longest day
saying.
of my
Because, like,
life.
like I said, like what I said before was, like, there's really only so much you can do when you kind of put yourself in a level, like, I'm gonna make trap beats that are gonna sound a specific way. Like, I don't know if it's 808 or what exactly he's using to make the drum beats. I only say 808 that's the one that I know. I'm not familiar, like, I'm not super well versed in, like, being able to identify the machines by, like, the sounds and stuff specifically. But if that's, like, there's only really so much, like, I would imagine you can do before you start really changing the vibe of a lot of stuff. So even though I'm like, oh, it kind of is samey, there's enough of them that I don't think are the exact same to kind of out and like have interesting ideas that kind of outweigh the ones that do just kind of sound the same. So I think those ones are good, but I definitely understand that angle. Can definitely feel that. But,
Yeah.
everybody's a fucking critic.
Everybody's a fucking critic.
I do.
You hate to see it.
I do like EDM trap quite a bit, actually. Not quite a bit. I've liked what I've listened to of it. Because I'm 12 years old, literally, and I still like dubstep, and that's basically just dubstep with trap beats.
First two albums I bought on CD are Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites and Banger Ring. Shout out
pretty
Dubstep.
chadly.
That's fucking awesome.
That is pretty chadly, eh?
Those albums spot. Does anybody else have any other closing remarks about Japan Suicideyear 2015, Baton Rouge, Louisiana?
So the reason why I like this album so much, it feels so stupid to say. After everything that's happened.
There's no way you can look stupider than Jack does.
It's not about looking stupid. It's about like it just feels anticlimactic. But so like, essentially, in part due to its instrumental nature, this album, when I'm in a certain mood, usually like late at night, it makes me feel like very happy in a way like no other album can, essentially. And a lot of that is because since there are no vocals, like it feels pure. Like it's not I want to say bonkered down, even though that's not the correct word at all. It's not bogged down or tainted by like words that have meaning that I then think of when I listen to the music. Instead, it's just the fucking the 808s and the hi-hats just fucking hitting it, and just like it just makes you feel good, you know. And like I imagine that I'm fucking I'm throwing money at a Japanese strip club, but like a traditional.
Oh, konnichiwa, dude.
But like a traditional Japanese strip club where they're wearing like kimonos and shit, and everything's like like old aesthetic, you know. And that shit is just like it just feels good to listen to. So yeah.
100% agree. And next time I listen to it, I'm gonna think about being in a Japanese strip club like that.
Hell yeah.
That might be a good vibe, good mental space for this.
So yeah. Besides that, it definitely is a vaporwave-esque. I probably found this album not too long after it came out, I believe, because it came out in 2013. Yeah, the original came out in 2013. I was like 14 or 15. I probably found it when I was like 15. I never said how I found it. I found it, I believe, on YouTube.
That's how I imagine a lot of you stuff gets down.
Yeah, I don't really find. Well, occasionally I'll click on albums, but I usually don't like them. But yeah, I don't really find shit on YouTube anymore. But you know,
times have changed.
Yeah, times have changed.
SoundCloud is YouTube.
So yeah, shout out Suicideyear. He dropped an album late last year that I listened to sometime during this week. I liked it. It has vocals in it. It's like I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's it's very different, but it's also very good.
Well,
In
shout
my
out
humble
Suicide.
opinion.
His
Yeah, shout
name's
out Suicide Year.
his name is, I can tell you right now,
I don't really want to know his name.
James Pradhami.
Yeah, now I know his name.
Sorry, he's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and his apartment. No, I don't know anything further. Did you? So see the video. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should we review next?
Yikes.
We've
All right,
got-
Jack,
we've
it's
got
your
one more
turn.
album.
We have.
Alright,
Wait, did we have
so-
one more album? I thought that was all of them.
No.
Oh, no, we got
It
one more.
feels
Sorry.
like all of them. It
Sorry.
feels like
No.
this is way longer than it was supposed to be.
Because when I'm
It
tired.
was, and then I got Jack, and suddenly we're all on a new high. At least I am. I'm putting that in my resume, by the way.
They put this video on your resume. The YouTube. link.
So, my album,
What sound does the last word make?
I
Did you ever
don't.
figure that out? I think it's an Sundfør.
That sounds right. I was Susanne Sundfør. I was thinking of it. I was just reading it as if it's an O, so like
Sundfør.
Sundfør.
Yeah,
But, like
Sundfør.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter really because
So,
I'm pretty sure it is you.
it doesn't matter
Like
because
some fear.
it doesn't matter because women don't deserve respect. Okay.
Whoa.
Wow.
Now
That's another hot
Now
take thing, though.
every episode I hope we get some shit that I can like show to a female to flex, but like never happens. Like
You should
yeah,
just-
someone's
you
always
just
gotta
cut-
say some
The
bullshit.
first couple are fine. The
You should
rest have
cut-
just gone.
I don't know about that.
You should cut out the
Shit.
part of the video where I said that shit in chat, and then tell her that you told me to say it.
And then cut
That
this
would
part out also.
Well, anyway, so 10 Love Songs by Susanne Sundfør is a album that consists of 10 songs that are loosely love songs, and in the genre of synth pop music and or adjacent areas. I got recommended this by some random guy on Mew. I don't know like what that I had listened to that made him recommend it. If I had to assume, it was probably something like sometimes will put in my charts all of like some like female pop singer like Carly Rae Jepsen or Taylor Swift or some like old like
Boo.
Japanese city pop or something like that.
If it makes
I
you,
feel
if it
like
makes you feel any better, I think that anybody who posts you recommendations on a chart thread just gives you an album that they think is really good, no matter what your list is. You will just get recommended something by some dude who thinks it's too obscure for most people to know about. You could post
Yeah, I mean-
all death metal, and this guy's gonna recommend this album to you.
Yeah, I
But good
that
thing you
is
did.
how I think that people do it, but I also think that I think what they at least think okay, I'm going to choose from my favorite albums an album that it looks like you would like based on like one or two of your picks, right? So
Fair
they'll
enough.
like latch on to something that you picked and they'll be like, okay, I guess I'll like. For example, another recommendation I got one time they actually said why they recommended it. They specifically recommended me "Never Forever" by Kate Bush, specifically because I enjoyed Taylor Swift, which is the genres
Does
on
Kate
those two
Bush have a bush?
Yeah,
I-
she's from the '60s, dude. She's ancient.
Yeah, she probably doesn't.
probably does.
Speaking of having a bush, I gotta tell you guys a story after this.
But yeah,
Sure.
so 10 Love Songs was a recommendation like that for me, and I didn't get around to it was a recommendation like at least a year ago now. But I didn't get around to listening to it until actually just a couple weeks ago, and I dig it. I dig it. It's right up my alley in terms of
There's
like,
his part too.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that makes it different, but like yes, it's in a similar space. I would say the stuff that I particularly like of this album is that there's a lot of vocal flexing. That's is quite nice, and then there's a good amount of like orchestral stuff that's layered on top of the synth pop production, which I think works really really nicely, and in some specific cases has it the songs do like kind of progressive things because of it, like in particular, like Memorial is notable for the way it delves into basically just like a complete like modern classical composition in the middle of the song,
Yeah,
which
the strings made me almost cry a little bit.
yeah. So it's not a perfect album in my opinion. I'm not fond of the ninth song, Trust Me, which I thought was low. It was like comparatively a low energy track, but it also felt kind of redundant in
It felt like I was at church.
yeah. But it also felt like redundant relative because like there are other songs on the album, specifically Silencer and Slowly, which are also comparatively toned down songs that I like better. And yeah, and I feel like
Should have
you
been
know
9 love songs.
yeah.
I think she did one for each year that she was alive when she released the album.
That's a bit more than
10. Oh, wait, wrong album. Yeah, 10 love songs. My bad.
Wow.
I got missed a senior moment.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I don't need to hear what you guys think. He's gonna be dumb. But
Just
I'll
because
listen
I want to.
anyway.
Well, okay, Jack. After the events of this podcast, you're no longer allowed to insult our intelligence for at least a couple weeks, at least until we forget that. So probably never again.
Yeah.
But Susanne Sundfør. 10 love songs. The song Accelerate, beautiful. The song Memorial has an orchestral thing in the middle of it. Best song of the album, Kamikaze. The fucking little, like, chimey, I don't even know what I would call them, organs? I think they're organs, or maybe there's some kind of, like, a lute or something at the end that make me feel like I'm in a fucking tavern hearing the jaunty tune of a young bard. That shit's amazing.
That is a
It sounds like, I don't know if it's
harpsichord.
Is it a harpsichord? It made me feel medieval or Renaissance era. So I really, 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 really fuck with that. And also the song's just good. And shout out to the weird fucking song titles on this album. I also liked the song Delirious was a good song too. Because I just liked a lot of the synth rhythms like all over the album. So because some of them were more in the backing track and some of them have more of the lead synth element on some of the songs, where it was like with her voice and some of the ones were kind of behind her voice. But a lot of the synth rhythms all over this place were fucking beautiful. It made me feel like I was gonna have sex in the back of a station wagon or something, you know what I mean? Like one of those kind of things. Like
That's a specific
they put this in Stranger Things because they want you to have like the throwback to the 80s but not actually use it in 80s or something. You know what I mean? Like that kind of vibe. So Susanne Sundfør, and I don't know if she's actually. I think she'll be Danish.
she's I believe Norwegian.
Norwegian. That sounds right. Whatever she is, she makes some good music.
Is she the one that stabbed Euronymous?
No, she's actually. This is actually Varg's project after prison.
I do recall thinking that this was very 80s the entire time.
Well, because what it is when I make my notes, I make my notes as I'm listening to it the first time. So when I said favorite tracks, I was like, Accelerate, because it's got like a cool little throwback to the 80s new wave vibe, and then I was like, oh, that's the whole album has that. So my point about liking Accelerate because it was like 80s girl synth pop was kind of redundant because the whole album is 80s girl synth pop. That's why I liked the whole album. But especially Kamikaze, that's a good song. That song doesn't live up to its name, it doesn't crash and burn, it flourishes like an angel in the spring. Speaking of Angel in the Spring, Cruz, what did you think?
I really liked the album. I can't tell you what song in particular. All of them sounded like a big song to me. A big song that I liked. And I didn't even know Memorial was 10 minutes. I didn't even know there was a 10-minute song on Ugly Organ.
Yeah,
Like,
I didn't know there was a 10-minute song on this album until literally
I looked at
today.
it. Yeah. I think they're all really good songs, and I was surprised that Jack, for 2 weeks in a row, picked music that people can actually listen to. So I was like, God damn.
It's not as good as Arctic Monkeys,
New
but it was
Year,
still
New Jack, some shit like that. Like, what the hell's going on? But
No.
I was looking at the views, and the mega hit is Delirious. Like, that's the 11 million to like the 1 million plays.
And that's the 10th of what our podcast gets.
Hell yeah. And I don't know. It was I really really like how she yells. I'm really fan of that. Like the more she screamed, the better. Like the louder she was over everything. It was like she was at like a halftime game and she was like holding those long notes and fucking fireworks are popping off in my head. And like she has an elevator and she goes up and then you see the symphony down low. And I'm like, damn, this is awesome. I can see the concert in my head and it's beautiful. And I don't think there's anything wrong with this album, to be honest. I'm not sure if I guess I will listen to it. But that's when I'm probably on a road trip or something. It's just so nice to listen to.
I was debating if this album deserved a spot in my very exclusive saved albums in my library on Spotify. And it comes so close that I think I might just put the whole album in a playlist and just have it as a playlist.
Creative.
So, yeah. Two albums from this podcast are in the saved albums though. So shout out to you guys know who you are.
Once again, Spotify, we're breaking your system. Fucking demolish the patriarchy.
What is it, 10,000?
Yeah, 10,000. You're allowed to have 10,000 songs in your saved library. That's the estimate. I guess I didn't count individually, but that was what people were saying online. So,
yeah.
Why there's a limit, I have no idea.
We want more
Do
space.
they want to fuck over Alex in particular?
That's the problem. They don't want you to they don't want you to actually discover new music. They want you to discover new music but not save it. Because also, if you don't have your things saved in your library, your Discover Weekly will be shit that you've already heard before. It's the week that I unsaved all this shit. My Discover Weekly was all a bunch of songs that I had already even hearted in my Discover Weekly thing, already in there.
That's
like it was
hilarious,
bullshit.
Actually.
Yeah, so I'm not actually discovering very much new music because of the system. I guess it's probably my punishment.
You gotta go back to the old ways.
Yep.
Of actually looking it up.
Yeah, going on the podcast.
Going on the podcast.
This is my main method of discovering new music.
Oh yeah.
What'd you
Well,
think,
then,
Kevin?
So,
Of the
like,
album, not of their business practice.
So like this is either alright, so I don't know if it was your albums or some state of mind that I had this week due to the cold or otherwise, but I hated all of your albums for different reasons, which is the weird part. Like, I hated fucking the Math Rock album because, like, oh, it's Math Rock. I like it. Yay. Alex cheated. Whatever. You know? But at the same time, it's just like, it doesn't do anything special. So it's just like, I just want to give it a 1.
So before we continue, to clarify, the main reason you hated my album was because I picked it.
No. Well, you're the only one that would pick a Math Rock album for the most part. But the thing is, like, it just, like, since it just, like, sounds like Floral or, like Totoro or all, you know, the rest, like, it's just like, oh, you know, it's just one of these, you know? So it's just like, oh, I'm gonna like it because it's one of these. But at the same time, I want to give it, like a 1 because, like, I'm probably never gonna listen to it again because I already have, like Home Alone and Floral. So, like...
And really, I don't even blame you because what more do you actually need? That's not even a meme.
Yeah, like... So that's why I almost want to give it like a 2, but I don't fucking know. Like, I actually really am like, this album broke my number system. I mean, like, this whole week broke my number system.
Have you considered inventing a new number?
No.
Oh yeah, like H.
No, I literally all of these are so the average is either you and Jack are 4s and Cruz is a 3, or you are all 2s. Those are like the 2 options.
Let's just invent a
I'm
number.
do yet.
Let's invent a number between 2 and 3.
No.
We'll call it tree.
XD.
Alright, I'll be here next week.
So and then with Cruz's album, it's like it started off really good and it just got worse. Like, like that's just what happened.
Goddamn sugarcoat it, Cameron.
And then with Jack's album, it was consistent the whole way through, but I literally cannot tell how much I liked it. Because at some points, I feel like a fucking grandma, because this shit sounds like it was made 40 years ago. But at the same time, I'm just like, damn, I kind of wish I were a grandma, so it would be like, shit, this shit slaps. But, like, I don't fucking, like, I don't know, it's just weird. I fuck with Delirious. I fuck with the album, like, I don't know, but, like, it's just, like, it's just, like, it's just whatever. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I kind of wish she had either gone, like, more towards, like, the kind of, like, the classical whatever, like, more stuff, like, the very beginning of the album, or, like halfway through Memorial, or just gone, or just made, like, shit more distorted, and then, like, had less of, like, the classical influence shit. If she went, like, one of those two ways, I think I would have liked the album more either way. But, yeah, I didn't realize that Memorial was 10 minutes long until, like, this morning. And, I don't know, y'all trolled me with 2 10-minute albums. Another thing is, like, so, either this is 2 good weeks in a row, which means I'm troll picking, or it wasn't 2 good weeks in a row, in which I'm picking normally.
Okay.
So like it matters a lot. Like,
Well, isn't there a certain thing where it's like, isn't there something if it's like such an outlier in statistics, you're supposed to throw it out? Maybe this is that. Like, it's not an outlier like in the conventional sense, but maybe the means by which the data was collected was skewed.
it's like,
But what we'll do is for next week, we'll just pick the same albums again. And you can have another week to ruminate on it and get back to us. Maybe we'll give you a homework assignment.
So spicy.
that would
We're back at it
That-
again, boys.
we
The
just try
same
harder,
4 hours.
try to be higher energy.
Yeah, try not to be exhausted.
No, we're not gonna do that. Come on. Let's get real.
Yeah, nah, I'm not doing that.
No,
But I feel
no.
what you're saying, Cameron.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know. This was a strange ass week.
Yeah,
But,
makes my ass weak.
like, I don't fucking know. I don't even know if, like, this is a 3 or a 4. Sometimes I listen to it in 3, sometimes I listen to it as 4. Like, I try to, like, usually when I face this conundrum, I try to look at other 3s and 4s.
But even
And-
that data doesn't help you.
Like, it helps. I'm pretty sure this is a 3, with just, like, a potential for me to like when I'm older and less edgy. I'm pretty, like, I'm pretty sure that's the consensus that I have with it. And,
Interesting.
so yeah, I mean, that's what I have to say about this album. Haha.
You know, maybe one day Jack will pick an album that isn't just completely in line with his own political views and his own musical views.
Political views, what?
Yeah, it's a woman, so, you know, it's like a pussy
Until-
hat album.
But, you know, but until that day comes, I'll just, you know, we'll keep saying the same thing about Jack's albums. We want you to be bolder, you know? We
I
want
think
you
I've
to
been pretty bold before.
We want more machine girls, you know? That's what he's trying to say.
I don't
Yeah,
want more
that's what I was
Machine
gonna
Girls,
say.
but I want more. Like, I asked for a Curry, and you gave me, like, you did that
A
shit.
Durant.
You did that shit where you were like,
Shit's stupid.
I was like, man, you guys seasoned the steak, and you're like, I put salt on it, and it's real spicy. You know what I'm saying? You're one of those.
Like, the salt is spicy, or the chicken already came spicy?
Like, the steak is spicy because you put salt on it.
Oh. Just some
What?
white people shit?
That's I didn't want to be the one to say it.
So
But-
you don't think this album was spicy at all? I mean, I didn't really think of it as spicy at all, but I
No, I
like,
thought it
even,
was. I thought it was. I don't think you need an album to be spicy for it to be good. I think that what
Yeah.
it is that it wasn't spicy enough to warrant anybody having a strong enough opinion to make it really funny to talk about the album. It was just like, wow, this album's really decent. Everybody was like, fuck yeah, dude.
Everyone
Yeah.
except for Cruz troll picks, honestly. That's how I feel about this
No,
week.
Cruise Troll picked too, but we kind of.
I don't understand what you mean by that.
Okay,
Like,
okay, so
to me, troll picks are like Machine Girl.
okay, so
No.
troll picks in this sense, I mean like Alex and I pick instrumental albums, so we troll pick essentially.
Troll picks are albums that you can't talk about.
Yeah, that's a troll. That's also a troll pick.
Oh,
So.
true.
So Alex and I picked instrumental albums that you can't really talk about, so we troll picked, and then you troll picked because you just like, this is just some '80s throwback shit that was made in 2015.
Well, to be fair too, I feel like had this been any other night of the week where there was any more energy, we might have been able to have more conversation about some of the projects.
It is
But-
possible.
Which, that's not to say anything
That
because
is not the
But it-
timeline in which we live or reside.
there
If
was
it
a
were
really-
any
really-
higher than fucking 10 degrees outside, maybe. Or
For
if I
those-
didn't have to go outside, maybe. But
For
like,
those curious in the chat about what happened, there was actually a block rockin' party the other night that Cruise Jack and their friends went to that I, for some reason, wasn't invited to. Wasn't
You
allowed
get
to go.
invited
You wouldn't have
parties
come.
and you don't come to parties.
But, unless anybody else has anything else they want to add about Susanne Sundfør 10 love songs.
So, what's you guys' favorite pony from My Little Pony? Friendship is
My
Magic.
favorite pony from My Little Pony is a hand on.
And on, yeah.
I think that wraps it up.
Alright, guys.
Well,
I
Yeah,
end it.
We'll see you next
Comment.
week. 4 more albums like, comment,
Comment,
subscribe,
Jack,
and
and
we'll see you next time.